I am so excited to do this review. I'm so excited. So let's jump into the review of this new film right now. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. Yep, today, finally, we get to review the highly anticipated film Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is making its way to the theaters May 14th. And I gotta instantly say, when it comes to a Saw film, that opening scene really defines and it means everything to the rest of that film. And this one did not at all let down, and it's already online. You can see some of it already, but yeah, when you see it in entirety, wow. Saw essentially is one of my favorite franchises. I mean, I believe I had my first date going to see Saw in the theaters back in high school, and now the anticipated new chapter in the book of Saw has finally been released, and I got a lot of thoughts about it. But the first thing I gotta say is, man, it felt good to be back in the theaters. This is my first film I've seen in theaters since last year, and it was an amazing vibe to be back. Kind of eerie, because like no one was really there, but it was like, wow, like this is the theaters. And I will say that I got a pretty nice setup at home, but I still was like very excited to be back in the theaters. But I got a lot to unpack here, and I have to go look at my notes because there's a lot of things that really goes into this story. First of all, if you don't know, again, this is Spiral from the Book of Saw, and this takes place after the Saw, the original Saw, what, 5 or 6 movies, whatever it may have been. Jigsaw's dead, so it's taking place after that. And what's really trippy about it is that like the aesthetics and everything, because they're in some fictional town, and whatever it is, but they're in some fictional town. And it takes place after it, but like the status of everything looks old school, like an old school cop film. But like, so it throws you off because you're thinking like, well, this is probably beforehand, but no, it is after the original Saw movies. So that's the first thing. And what's basically happening is that now this new Jigsaw killer, who's imitating the original Jigsaw, he is targeting this South Metro Police division. And the reason why he's targeting them is because this cop division is corrupt. So he is trying to clean the corruption inside of the police department, which this definitely has like some, shall I say, motifs with like people's dislikes towards police officer and their wrongdoings. And like, this is exactly what it's doing. It's trying to fix the broken department. And essentially, if you remember what Saw stood for in change, evolution, and progress, that's essentially the theme behind it. And I also should premise too, like, I actually feel this film could have probably been very okay without having to essentially be in the Saw universe. Like, it could have had its own little thing and created its own story and would have been perfectly fine, shall I add. So now you got this police officer, Zeke, who's played by Chris Rock. He's like the only ethical cop inside this police department. Actually, he's a rat, and they treat him as such because he actually turned in a corrupt cop. So now his whole department is against him. Well, this Jigsaw killer sees like, well, he's the only good cop. I'm going to start sending messages through him or to him in regards to how this Jigsaw killer is cleaning up the department, targeting police officers and making them pay for the crimes that they have committed. So Chris Rock is essentially on the hunt to figure out who this person is and obviously save his fellow police officer. So it has Chris Rock. It stars Samuel L. Jackson. And I'm trying to think, it's just a few other people, but it doesn't matter. The stars did what the stars were supposed to do. Now, here's my thing with Chris Rock. Chris Rock is definitely one of those, if he is your cup of tea type of person. I like his stand-up. And a lot of this film felt like standoff stints for him. Like, you were cracking jokes, and if you like him, then it worked. And if you didn't like him, then it didn't work. Ultimately feeling kind of corny. And there was a ton of corny one-liners in it. But thank God Samuel Jackson came into it, because the moment he blessed the screen, and even the scenes that they had together were some of the best moments of it. And like, yeah, we're talking about a horror film, but like there was some really good comedy when it came down to the two of them being on screen together. So I have to add that. So like Chris Rock, you know, very, very corny, not like the best acting performance. I mean, you wouldn't expect that in the first place. But the moment him and Samuel Jackson on screen together, they're fantastic. Another thing I will say is, we're talking about Saw now. The gore, brutal, the devices, like even better, and all the chilling sounds and all the things why you like the Saw franchise. You didn't have to worry about that. They absolutely delivered on that note. So yeah, the gore, the jump scares, the sound effects, the devices and all that, the visuals of it, really low light, so everything looks really mysterious. And then, obviously, Jigsaw jumping out, snatching people up. All that's in there. And like, you know what? I just been so excited to see this film. Being a fan of the Saw franchise, playing the game Dead by Daylight, who has the pig on there, finally being able to see this really brings me joy. But I will say, like, there's a few things that I did have problems with. The first thing is, again, I thought that with Chris Rock tone being kind of like he was legitimately raging like a little kid in some of the scenes. But I feel like while his tone was kind of comical and you really couldn't take him serious at time, it really like tainted like the horror factor in it, because like although you're still at the edge of your seat wondering when Jigsaw's gonna jump out, Chris Rock really didn't, his character as Zeke really didn't make you also feel that edge. It was, I guess it maybe the balance for the gore, which maybe people need that. But like, I'm used to everything being super serious with Saw films, and like this one wasn't. This one played a little bit higher on like the easiness level, shall I say. Let's talk about some of the callbacks to the other the other movies. We had as you seen in the trailer, we had the OG scene with him and the Saw inside of the bathroom. You had that. You also, some of the devices were also kind of callbacks to some of the other ones. And then the theme, which was actually scored by 21 Savage. I slightly like the new rendition of the Saw theme. Once he added the rap lyrics to it, which you hear at the credits, I was like, all right, I guess. But like, whatever. But ultimately, there was definitely some nods, a little bit of Easter eggs. You saw the original pig mask in one scene as well too. So like, yeah, there's some fan service to that. I gotta say, the whole scene of let's play a game. John Kramer, I miss, that character being the one doing so. Much more methodical and sinister. This one was definitely like some voiceover, video game robotic type of sound. I mean, call me, say whatever you want. I like the OG better on that note. I will say too, much like in true Saw fashion, the reveal, how everything all come together, that pretty much is fan service. It does exactly what it does in the other films. It leaves you like, oh, okay, I see what they did there. So like the reveal and how everything all come together was on, it was on par. It made sense and it made the film work, because at one point I definitely was like, there's some huge logical issues with some of the things that are happening, but the reveal saved it. But immediately after the reveal, the film ended. This was like the most abrupt ending to a film I've ever seen. Like, it was just like, whoop, done. And I definitely waited for after the credits, because I was like, there has to be something. And there wasn't. So yes, don't wait after the credits for anything, because it won't be there. But yeah, the film absolutely just ended abruptly. And it was kind of like, give us a little bit more, please. With that being said too, maybe there's a sequel. I'm not going to say it's setting up for a sequel, but there is something to work with in regards to sequel. But I'm not going to sit here and first-handedly say I need it. I'll be 100% honest with it. So I'm guessing this one's really going to be predicated as to the success of how good this film does. But at the end of the day, this film was enjoyable. It had a lot of good things going for it. I was really worried about Chris Rock and his tone, but it although, again, as I stated, it definitely sort of created the balance for all the gore and the horror stuff, and it also like kind of devalue that a little bit because of the idea of like most of the other Saws are very serious. It still worked. And ultimately the plot and like, should we say the psychology behind the Saw killer, it makes sense. Saw killer was anti-blue, anti-pig. So he said, I'm going to clean up this police department by getting rid of all these corrupt cops for all the things that they've been getting over on for over the years. And because Chris Rock character Zeke happened to be the only ethical stand-up cop in the division, he was the one who was getting all the clues and pretty much writing the messages through him. So that's kind of the gist of it. I think a lot of people are going to check this out regardless because, I mean, the star power here with Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson, they definitely provide a lot of laughs. But as always, like I said, for the people who are just fans of Saw, you're definitely going to check it out. But it could have also done without being a Saw, being in the Saw universe. I thought it could have been perfectly fine standing on his own two legs and, obviously tweaking the little things from the Saw references and still been a good movie. But because it is in the Saw universe, then it's the option of connections and callbacks to the other movies and then potential for sequels in the future. And obviously the cult fan base who's just going to watch it regardless of the film. So yes, folks, this is finally Spiral, my review of Spiral from the Book of Saw, which is going to be coming in theaters May 21st. I know you all are excited to check it out, so definitely jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about this film. And as always, stay tuned because we got more reviews coming very soon. So thank you for watching, folks, and I'll see you soon.